Welcome to today's edition of the Statler Financial Radio Show. Your financial security is our business. Have a question for the team? Call today, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Stephanie Griffin. Political headlines, possible new investigations, talk of a new Fed leader, and inflation that just won't let up. All that and more was on the table for a recent meeting of the Federal Reserve, where we also learned the Fed could be pausing interest rates across the country. Here to talk about what all of this could mean for you and your retirement is Philip Statler, founder and president of Statler Financial Services. Good morning, Philip. Are you doing well?
Hey, good morning, Stephanie. I will say that it's warmed up a little bit, but last weekend it was very cold.
Yes.
Very, very cold.
Yeah,
so,
you had a freeze warning at one point during the week, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, we had some friends that actually saw some snow flurries out in their backyard.
That's crazy in Florida. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. And we've got the big game this weekend. Are you a Patriots or Seahawks fan?
I'm really neither. I mean, I'm a Buccaneers fan.
There you
I
go.
got to be a pro team fan, but I'm sure I'll watch at least maybe the first half, and then I'll probably be done with it after that.
Yeah, that's kind of how we are. We watch the commercials unless the Chiefs are playing, and then I know
Then you
that's
watch the whole
taboo.
game, right?
I watch the whole game. Then there you go. Well, Philip, let's break this down. The Federal Reserve has decided to keep the federal funds rate at about 3.5%. What do we make of that?
Well, the Fed, they want to keep things steady while they're watching a couple things. They're watching inflation, what those CPI numbers are, and that type of thing. And they're looking at what the jobs report looks like, and because they're trying to keep the economy, just kind of so. They don't want to raise it. They don't want to lower it. A matter of fact, I mean, everything I've really kind of read lately is the expectations right now is that there'll be maybe two more total, two more rate cuts. And that won't necessarily be this year. It may be one this year and one next year. But once we get to that second one, don't expect any more. That's the expectation is that will be it. They'll be done. So, let's face it, they don't make moves very quickly. They're trying to give the economy time to adjust to what they've already done. But I tell you, Stephanie, with all the political talk out there, it's normal to feel unsure about what's next. I mean, with Trump really pressing hard for lower interest rates, and we'll talk about that a little bit more too.
Of course. And if you would like to talk to Philip about anything going on, maybe in your financial world, if you'd like to schedule a visit, make sure you text him, and you could text the word visit to 863-877-1188. I wanted to throw that number out for you since we just got started with the show, 863-877-1188. And if someone is retired or close to retirement, Philip, and they have significant money in the market, what should they be looking at now?
Well, I think the first thing they need to look at is their investments. Look at them, see, how are they allocated? Check your bond portion, makes sense, because yields are better now than what they have been in the past. And as interest rates go down, which we expect at least two more cuts eventually, then the value of those bonds will go up a little bit. And I'll say this again, and I think I pretty much have answered it, but don't count on more rates soon. I mean, they're just not going to be cutting rates like they did last year and the year before. So consider having a mix of stocks, bonds, and Stephanie, maybe even some annuities thrown in there for some protection. Spread things out so, surprises don't hurt you when the market moves.
Now, we've been hearing about neutral interest rates. What does that even mean?
Well, neutral rates means that the Fed thinks rates are just right. They don't need to speed things up or slow things down. So they don't need to lower rates. They don't need to raise rates. So if rates stay here, retirees get steady income from bonds. Even, savings are still paying a decent rate right now in savings accounts. But this could change fast. So it's smart to keep watching the news and be ready to adjust things if that happens. So listen, if you're not sure what this rate news really means for your retirement, don't wait. If you've saved at least $250,000 or more, now's the perfect time to call us here at Statler Financial for a complimentary review of where you are right now and make sure that you're on track for the retirement you always dreamed of. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
Go to Statler Financial website also, and you can learn about Philip and schedule a free consultation with him, statlerfinancial.com. Now, with all this political pressure on the Fed, should retirees expect more market swings, you think, Philip?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. It could, nobody really knows. One day it could be, yes, we're putting pressure, right? The next day it could be, oh, well, things are bouncing back up. So here's what I say is that, things can move faster up and down. We've seen that already. So have a plan that lets you use the opportunities like that or helps protect yourself when things get shaky, right? We need to have a plan in place. And then double check your finances now so you're not caught off guard. Make sure you understand where everything is and what your plan is if the market does start to drop, or what's your plan if the market takes off and goes up. You need to have some kind of plan in place.
Oh, according to analysis, interest rates are better than last year, but they could jump again. Should we be keeping that in mind, do you think, Philip?
Well, I think if you have loans, it may be time to review them. This could be a great time to refinance or set up some home equity lines. Let me just say this, though. When you do that, a good rule of thumb to follow is this. The interest rate needs to be at least 1% less than what you're currently paying, and you need to intend to stay in the house you're in for at least 7 years because it costs you when you refinance. And so that cost is, you need to make sure you're there long enough to make that cost worth the refinancing. And so a couple other things to think about when we talk about interest rates is if you're buying annuities, act while rates are good. While the rates are higher, annuities pay better than when interest rates are lower like they were, 3 or 4 years ago. So whatever you do, make sure it fits your retirement plan. Don't rush, but don't wait too long either. But again, that comes back to another thing I say a lot on this show is that you need to have a written retirement income plan. And most of you out there probably don't have one. So that's one of the things I would definitely be looking at right now. Listen, folks, if you're thinking, maybe I should do something, then don't just think, act, take the opportunity. If you have at least $250,000 or more saved for retirement, this is your window to help make sure you're supported. The rules can change fast, and waiting even a few months could leave you paying more, earning less, or facing risks that you really didn't expect. Here's what you can expect at Statler Financial. We're going to walk you through your income, where you are right now. We're going to measure the amount of risk you have. We're going to look at the cost you're paying. We're going to look at the taxes that may be there that we can maybe start to get rid of. And then we're going to make sure that you have an income plan in place. We want to stress test what you have now because rising inflation doesn't seem to have stopped yet. Interest rates, we don't know how much more they're going to drop. If inflation kicks up big, they may actually raise interest rates. There's a lot of unknowns when it comes to those type of things. So listen, don't leave your future up to chance. And don't get trapped by the headlines. This is your opportunity to lock in your financial confidence. Give us a call, 863-877-1188 right now. Before you get busy or forget about it or you put it off, don't wait until rates move or the market surprises you. Talking with our team could help you preserve everything you've worked for and maybe even help you enjoy your retirement even more. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. Take action now. Don't procrastinate. That number one more time, 863-877-1188.
And the Statler Financial Show will be right back. Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is the president and founder of Statler Financial Services. We are so glad you're listening today. Some people spend decades diligently saving for retirement, watching their 401ks and IRAs grow. But here's an important question a lot of people fail to ask. How much of that money will I actually get to keep after taxes? Philip, so why are tax strategies crucial yet often overlooked in retirement preparation?
Well, one of the things is that we're focused on retirement, right? We're focused on having fun and making that next step in our life, and we don't think about taxes. They just have focus on building up the nest egg, and a lot of folks out there have done a great job at that. And so, in that process of accumulation, they overlook what the distribution strategies need to be on those portfolios. Now, let's face it, traditional retirement accounts, they can create this thing we call a tax trap, where withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income. I see this quite often. Folks get ready to retire, they haven't quite paid off their house yet, or they have a few, car loans still they want to get paid off. So what do? They say, well, I'm going to take an extra $75,000 out right now to pay off my house or my car, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they do their tax return and find out, oh my gosh, I owe a fortune in taxes. And so that's where tax planning comes into the process. We don't want anybody to get blindsided by taxes. The other thing we see is higher withdrawals to cover those taxes can then push you into higher tax brackets and just exasperating the whole situation. So with growing national debt, tax rates could increase in the future. Now, we did get some relief, right? We thought they were going to go up at the end of 2025, but we got some relief with the big, beautiful bill. It extended those tax cuts for a while. And so that's great news, but let's don't waste that opportunity, right? So, because we don't know, they're going to have to go up eventually because of the national debt continue to go. So being tax diversified is important. We need to have some money in Roth where we're tax free, some money in tax deferred. It all works together if you plan properly.
And can you go into maybe a little more detail about tax diversification? Why is that so valuable for retirees?
Well, because think about it, back before Roth IRAs, everybody put in all their money in 401ks or in IRAs. So when they got ready to retire, nothing had any taxes paid on it. So when they got ready to retire, the only place they really had to take money, because that's where they forced all their savings, is they didn't have any place to take money from that wasn't going to be taxable. And that tax on that account then made more of their Social Security taxable. And it was a rolling stone that just kept going and going. Now we've got this thing called a Roth IRA. And even within folks' 401k, a lot of times they'll have a Roth bucket that they can use. And I encourage you, if you're in the 22% bracket or less, I would definitely be putting my money in the Roth part of the 401k. Yeah, granted, it's not going to save you anything in taxes. The taxes can be so much higher down the road. That's the tax deferral, right? Is diversification is how much do I have in Roth? How much do I have in tax deferred? And then how much do I have in non-qualified? That means I'm going to pay the tax as I go. I'm going to pay the tax on the capital gains, the dividends, all those things as they occur. You need all three of those things to put together a good plan.
I'll tell you something I honestly did not know, Philip, that Social Security benefits, they might be taxable, and also Medicare premiums could increase based on people's income. And a lot of other people are surprised by that as well. How can strategic withdrawals help minimize these additional costs?
Well, I'll be honest. Sometimes it's not avoidable. I've seen it where it's not avoidable, right? I remember the very first time I dealt with this issue called IRMA. That's where your Medicare premiums go up. And a tax client of mine had sold a huge piece of property and had like a $800,000 profit on this piece of property. And, all of a sudden her Social Security check went down by like $600. And she's like, what happened?
It's a big jump.
And yeah. And we had to go dig in and say, look, your income was well over the IRMA amount. So for the next year, guess what? You get to pay higher premiums on your Medicare Part B premiums. So it caught her by surprise, as it catches a lot of people by surprise. Thankfully, though, Stephanie, what we are seeing now is that more people are cognizant of the issue. And so they're asking some questions, and more professionals are asking the right questions to make sure that we're doing the right planning for folks. And that's a good thing. And that's, again, part of our core retirement design is to do that tax planning, to have that plan in place. If I'm going to sell something big, what's it going to affect? And just know we may have to deal with that down the road. Would love to sit down with you. Again, it's 30 minutes. Ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer them. 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
You are listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Stephanie Griffin, and I am sitting with Philip Statler of Statler Financial Services, and he is the founder and president of Statler Financial. You can give him a call. Let me mention that number again. You can even text VISIT to this number and get your free consultation, 863-877-1188. That again is 863-877-1188. Philip, what is the first step someone could take if they want to explore creating a more tax-efficient retirement plan?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to know where you are right now, right? So it's like the other day, I met with some folks that have a rather large IRA. And so now what do we do? What's the plan? Because if we wait until RMD time,
the RMDs are going to be huge. That's the required minimum distribution. That's the amount the IRS says you have to take out every year. And if they wait, that number is going to be huge, and it's going to make basically 85% of their Social Security taxable. It's going to create a huge bill.
Right.
So we have an opportunity now, while they're still in a relatively low tax bracket, to do what we call take advantage of those tax brackets. Let's max out that 12% tax bracket, or let's max out the 22% tax bracket. If we think they're going to be in a 22% tax bracket down the road, let's max out the 22% tax bracket, because the likelihood 10 years from now is that they'll be, if they have to take RMDs, they're going to be in a higher tax bracket than 22%. So that's going to be the key, is, looking at those circumstances and putting together a plan on how we're going to take advantage of our IRA, how we're going to convert to Roth, how we're going to take advantage of the tax brackets, and just, that's what we do. That's what we plan for in our core retirement design.
Now, we've been talking about the retirement tax strategies that people should be doing. How often should people review those strategies? Because the tax code, it seems like it's constantly changing.
Yes, we did, because, we think, early this year, what were we all preaching? Early in 2025, we were preaching, the end is coming, right? The tax brackets are going to go up back to what they were prior to the Trump tax law change. And so we were all looking at Roth conversions and what can we do, because people are going to pay a lot more taxes in 2026. And what happened? They came in, they passed a bill that extended those tax cuts and added us some more benefits for the next 4 or 5 years. So you never know, because it could be the exact opposite, right? They can be, hey, look, we got to pay down debt. Let's jack tax rates up.
Right.
So we got 5 more years that we can take advantage of converting these IRAs to Roths, which to me, we need to look at. Everybody needs to take the opportunity to look at that. And we need to look at that on a regular basis. I mean, for my clients that we're doing Roth conversions, it's an annual event that we look at and say, okay, what's happened this year? Did you sell anything big? Can we still make the Roth conversion work? Maybe we can't do 40,000. Maybe we can only do 15,000 this year. But what is that number? What can we do to take advantage of this whole tax bracket? Let's max it out and take advantage of it. So again, when we look at that, that's the thing. You're right. The tax code changes all the time, and we've got to play the game with the rules we have at the time. And right now, we got some extensions that we need to work on and take advantage of these extended lower tax brackets. And again, let me just remind you, our core retirement design looks at 3 key areas of retirement. It looks at the risk in your portfolio that mitigates some of the ups and downs you may see. It's a tax plan where we look at how can we pay the least amount of taxes possible for not just you, your spouse, but also your beneficiaries. Think about this for a minute real quick. If something happens and one of the spouses dies, now our tax brackets automatically go up, because now we have to file single.
God, how scary that would be when that surprises you and you're still more in
it. Does.
Yeah.
It does. And then the third leg of that core retirement design is designing that income plan that's going to give you the income you need in retirement. Give us a call at 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188 to schedule your core retirement analysis.
All right, Philip, sounds good to me. And we would love you to call him once again, 863-877-1188. Sit down and talk to Philip Statler about your retirement and any questions you may have. He'd be happy to answer them for you. When we return, we'll explore specific tax-efficient strategies that can help you keep more of your hard-earned retirement savings, including Roth conversion opportunities, and ways to help prepare for your future tax changes. Stay tuned. We've got more of the Statler Financial Radio Show on the way.
Needing a second opinion on your retirement plan or to see if you're paying more than your fair share to Uncle Sam? Schedule your complimentary visit today. Text VISIT to 863-877-1188. That's VISIT to 863-877-1188.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit StatlerFinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder and president of Statler Financial Services, Philip Statler. Thank you so much for listening to us today. The prospect of retirement brings excitement and concern for many Americans. Building your nest egg is very important, but those taxes on withdrawals can really impact how long your money lasts. So what specific actions can listeners take today to create a more tax-efficient retirement strategy, Philip?
Well, I think that the strategies are out there. It's just making them work for you. And here's probably the key. You have to be willing to pay some tax up front to save more taxes in the back. And that can be hard for people to grasp, right?
Right.
So the first step is evaluating your current mix of accounts across the different tax treatments that are out there. What do we have in Roth? What do we have in traditional? What do we have that's neither one, non-qualified, not retirement accounts? We need all three to put things together so that you have the best opportunity. So once we look at that, then we want to consider strategic Roth conversions during years when you might be in a lower tax bracket. And that's singling out different years. It's not a one and done deal. So for some reason, people think that. I have some clients, we do $10,000 a year, convert from traditional to Roth. Other clients, we do $25,000 or $40,000 a year. So everybody's different, and that's why you have to go through the planning process. You need to plan for required minimum distributions before they become mandatory. I did a review with a client this year, and she turns 73 next year, meaning she has to start taking money out for her required minimum distributions. And she done a little homework. She said, Philip, since the tax rates are low, maybe we should do some Roth conversions this year before I have to start taking my required minimum distribution next year.
Oh, wow.
I said, absolutely. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
We scheduled another appointment. I'm putting together the numbers now to see, how much can she put into a Roth and still stay in that 12 to 22% tax bracket because, well, she lives in one of those high states too. So she's going to pay some high state income tax. So we really want to look to see how that's going to affect her. But again, it's the planning process. It's being cognizant of the fact that everything's sitting in her traditional IRA, and she knows the amount of money she's going to have to pull out and pay taxes on is huge. Now, the other thing people don't want to talk about, or they do, but they don't understand how to do it yet, or a lot of advisors don't deal with it. There's a lot of strategies for folks out there that are charitably minded, especially once you pass that 70.5 marker. Things called QCDs, qualified charitable distributions. that you can use your IRA to fund your charitable endeavors. It's a huge thing that can save you big amounts in taxes. Some people just don't want to deal with it, though. I don't get it, but everybody's different, right?
That's why you're here. You can help him out, right? Help him out. Definitely give Philip a call. 863-877-1188 is the number. And Philip, talk a little bit more about Roth IRAs and some of the considerations for adopting an optimal conversion strategy. We want the most, don't we?
Absolutely. And so let's remember, what is a Roth IRA? A Roth IRA is an IRA that you put money into, but you do not get a tax deduction for that contribution. The benefit is it grows tax-free forever, and you never have to take money out unless you want to. There's no required minimum distributions. So the other way, people will say, well, Phil, but I don't work anymore. I can't put money into a Roth. You can. It's called a Roth conversion. And that's where you take money from your traditional IRA and you convert it to a Roth IRA. Now, that is a taxable event. You're going to have to pay tax on the money that you convert from the traditional to the Roth. Now, I'll be honest, I have some clients that are really lucky. They're in a 0% tax bracket. We're able to keep them in a 0% tax bracket, and they do the conversion and pay no tax. Now, that's a very slim margin, Stephanie, a very slim margin, okay, of people that can do that. But there's a lot of folks out there that can do that and stay in a 10% tax bracket or 12% tax bracket.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So, but there's things you need to remember. I think we talked about it. One of the other segments is you have to be careful. This thing called IRMA. And that's when you convert too much of your IRA to a Roth at one time and you trigger higher Medicare premiums. So the year after you do that, Social Security says, you owe us more money. So they start taking out a lot more money from your Social Security check. And if you're not prepared for that, you'll think, man, did I really mess up when I did that? But even when you take that into consideration, sometimes it makes sense to go ahead and do those conversions.
Philip, it seems like tax laws are always changing. We mentioned that earlier. How can retirees create a tax strategy that helps provide flexibility as their situation and tax laws evolve over time?
Well, Stephanie, that's good. That's a good question because here's the deal is that a lot of people don't, right? They do something and don't think about it and it's done and it can't be undone. And so what I encourage my clients to do is, look, before you do something that may cause some tax issues, call us. Let's call us and let's make sure that what you're doing makes the most sense. And make sure there's not another way to skin that cat. For instance, I'll have clients that will call me and say, Philip, it's time for me to buy my new car, right? I need $50,000. Because cars ain't cheap this time of year,
that's
right?
For sure.
So I need to buy a new car. Take the money out of my IRA and send it to me. And then, whoa. Let's look and see at where all your pots of money are, and let's make sure that that's the right choice. We have an IRA over here, we have a Roth IRA there, and we have a non-qualified account. Well, if you take $50,000 out of the traditional IRA, then we know your tax bill is going to be significant. What if we kind of took some from everywhere? We take $15,000 from the traditional. We take $15,000 from the Roth. We take $10,000 from the non-qualified. Now we still got the $50,000, but you've saved a lot of money in taxes by doing it that way.
Very smart.
So that's the key. Is I tell people, look, don't just say send me $50,000. Tell me what you're going to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and let's plan out how we're going to do it. The other way that comes up, Stephanie, is that people want to pay off something. They just retired. They want to pay off, the car still. Mm-hmm. Well, let's don't do it all in 1 year. Let's do it in 2 years. Let's take it this year and let's pay some off this year.
and let's get into the next tax year and take some more money out and pay the rest of it off.
Great
now
idea.
We've straddled 2 tax years. So it's just making sure that we plan the process. And so many people are focused on the end result, and they don't care how you get there. Well, how you get there can be half the battle, right?
That's exactly right.
That's the big tax consequences there. And so I think that's where we really help a lot of folks, is making sure that we do the best we can to be tax efficient. Now, truth, you can't always be tax efficient, right? Sometimes you don't have a choice. But man, whenever you can be tax efficient, let's don't lose that opportunity. Let's make sure that you're doing everything you can to save yourself the most you can in taxes.
The first step is to give Philip a call for sure. We want you to reach your financial goals. Give Philip Statler a call right now at 863-877-1188. That number again is 863-877-1188. You're listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. And Philip, how do you help people develop tax-efficient withdrawal strategies? So everybody is different. How do you tailor it to a specific situation?
Well, that's where we look at our income planning, right? Is putting together the income plan. That's the deal right there, is where is money going to come from? And what happens occasionally will be we've got a plan in place and something happens, right? There's always something, especially in Florida. A hurricane comes through. Well, Philip, I need an extra $25,000 to fix something. Okay. Well, that wasn't in our plan. Let's figure out the best way to handle that. And so we look at a couple of different scenarios and come up with the best alternatives we can. And that's the key. So often I talk with people and they say, I asked my financial advisor, I need some money out of my IRA. He didn't ask a question. He didn't make any suggestion. He just sent me the money. And now I owe this huge amount in taxes. And so I think that's the key, is making sure that people are really looking at and being conscious of the tax implications. They just say, gross it up. Gross it up. I need $20,000. Gross it up to $25,000. That'll take care of the taxes. Well, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a better way. It's just understanding the process, understanding the tax consequences and how the taxes work to put together maybe a better plan that accomplishes the same thing in the process. And so I think that's the key. And again, Stephanie, when I work with somebody, we work through our core retirement design. And remember, that's 3 specific categories. We look at how much risk do you have in your portfolio, and does it really match up with the amount of risk you want in your portfolio? Somebody will say, well, I'm moderate. Well, what does moderate mean? Can you handle a 20% decline in your portfolio and be okay? So those are the things you have to look at.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yes. Step 2, looking at the tax consequences of where you are. How can we minimize that tax, not just for you, but for your beneficiaries, right? Because they're going to be in a much higher tax bracket than you are usually. And so we need to look at those rules and make sure that we're doing what's best for our entire family. And then lastly is obviously the income planning. We've got to have an income plan. We've got to have a map to follow, a plan to get us to where we need to be. And that's what the income plan does. It gives us a track to run off of. Folks, look, it's that simple. Give us a call. We'd love to help you work through it. 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188.
And we aren't finished yet. More of the Statler Financial Radio Show is coming up.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Philip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815.
Surprise parties can be fun. Financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services and schedule a no-cost retirement double check at 863-877-1188. Philip and his team have seen their fair share of surprises over the years and know how to help you avoid them. Call 863-877-1188 to schedule your no-cost retirement double check with Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Call 863-877-1188 now. That's 863-877-1188. You can also visit statlerfinancial.com for more info. Advisory services are offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Sounds like the mailman's here.
It's time to answer questions from the Statler Financial Mailbag.
Welcome back. It's the Statler Financial Radio Show with founder and president Philip Statler. I'm Stephanie Griffin, and each week we get questions from you, the listener, and we use them in our mailbag segments. All kinds of questions today, Philip. Okay, are you ready for the first question?
I think so. Give it to me.
Okay. All right. Mary from Lake Placid asked, my husband and I will retire around the same time, and we are considering moving abroad. How might that impact our savings and pensions?
Man, that is a question I've not had to deal with much, but I can shed a little light there. It should not have any impact on your pensions. I think a lot of times you do need to make sure you have a U.S. bank, which means you have to have a U.S. address for those type of things. But it shouldn't impact any of those things. You may have to use different types of investment accounts if you're living abroad. The typical accounts that we use Schwab as our custodian. And so there's certain things that we don't have access to if you're not a resident of the United States. So it could be a little bit harder in that respect. But I know that sometimes it's great to live abroad, right? Sometimes it's cheaper to live abroad than it is here in the United States. So I probably haven't answered your question appropriately, but it is one of those things that is not something we deal with very often. But you definitely would need to dive in and do some research there to figure out what other things might be impediments to making that work for you.
And we can go visit them, right? We can go.
That's right. Yeah, we'll
visit them and visit abroad. All right. You are listening to the Statler Financial Show. Jeff from Sebring wants to know, I know that the government tends to spend a lot of money, but I'm not sure.
Really?
I know. I don't know what he's talking about. Jeez, but I'm not sure how it impacts me. How can I educate myself on ways to help protect my wealth? It's a good question.
It is. How do we know it impacts you? I'm going to tell you where it impacts you is in taxes, right? Because the government's got to get their money they're spending from somebody, and it's you and me that they get it from. So one of the things that you can do is start to position yourself into Roth IRAs instead of traditional IRAs. So there's a thing called Roth conversion, which is a taxable event. It could have several different types of consequences, not just tax, but Medicare related as well. So you need to have full disclosure before you do any of these things, and make sure you run the numbers, have somebody that's qualified run the numbers so that you can look at all these different thresholds that you can't go over before it starts to cost you money. So Roth conversions are a big deal. And And if you can stay in the same tax bracket you're currently in and do Roth conversions, I would do those all day long, because tax rates, we know we've got until I think probably 2030, 2029, 2030 before we don't know what's going to happen with tax rates, right? We know that we've got them low for now. So while they're low, we need to go and seek about Roth conversions, do the planning, look at it and see if it's right for you and if it's going to benefit you from the long term.
All right. Mark from Avon Park wants to know, I've worked hard all my life. How can I help ensure my retirement years are as fulfilling and enjoyable as possible without having to worry about finances? That is the last thing you want to do when you retire, is worry about your money. You want to be able to go out and enjoy it, don't you?
You do. You'd be surprised, though. I get some guys in here that they like spending the first couple hours of their day in the market trading. You know, it's crazy. I mean, if I retired, I'd want to put all that behind me. But it is. So, you know, having a plan, basically, Mark, that's the bottom line. We need to have a plan in place. And if you have a plan in place, that's going to help you get you to where you need to be. That plan gives you that track to run on. And then, yes, you still have to look at your finances. You still have to be cognizant of what's happening around you and how it's affecting your current accounts. But I think that it's very doable at that point, as long as you have a plan in place. And then you review that plan with your advisor at least once a year to make sure you're on track to keep going the way you're going.
And if you'd like to talk to Philip, you can do that by calling that number 863-877-1188. That number again is 863-877-1188. You can text the word visit to that same number, get in for your free consultation, and talk to Philip at Statler Financial Services. Alex, he writes a pretty big question. He's from Cypress Gardens. My dad worked at the same job for 30 years before he retired with a pension, and it just seems like he's never had to worry much about money. I've worked for 3 different companies, but I've always made sure to contribute to the company 401k with each position. I'm realizing that I should do something with those different accounts. There's a good amount of each of those accounts, but I don't know how to consolidate the money or if that would even be the best thing to do for me. I'd sure love to enjoy retirement one day, just like my dad. What advice do you have for him, Philip?
So, you know, here's the thing is that, folks like your dad who could retire with a pension, it just doesn't happen as much anymore, right? The private sector has kind of gone away from pensions and they developed the 401k. And so now you're going to be responsible for creating your own pension. And there's different ways that we can do that. But it's easy to consolidate these into an IRA. Your accounts that are out there, people usually don't leave them at the 401k. They usually end up rolling to an IRA so they have more control and better options for their investments from that standpoint. So how can you create some income? Well, I've said in different shows that there's a couple of different ways you can create income. You could have a portfolio of dividend paying stocks, but it's still, you're relying on those companies to pay that dividend every single quarter. And it can, cash flow may not always be even. Because of that, they pay quarterly. Another area that you may want to look at is annuities. Now, annuities aren't for everybody, but they are a contract between you and an insurance company that helps provide income. They will provide a lifetime of income for you. And if you do them right, you can do a joint so that it's going to provide that same income as long as either you or your spouse are alive. So there's some things you can do to help create your own pension. And those are some areas that we do look at within our core retirement design, where we're kind of designing the income planning part of it. We can look at some of those options to see if they make sense for folks. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just doesn't add up and doesn't make it worth the effort to do those. So, but we look at those as an option to see if they may work for you. So that's just an area that we look at. Again, our core retirement design, as we kind of close out the show today, is really that. We look at the risk. And in today's show, we've talked a lot about risk. Taxes, folks, taxes are a risk to your retirement income because you have a partner, Uncle Sam. Every time you take money out of that retirement account, he's got his hand there. He wants his share. The problem is you don't know what his share is going to be because you don't know what the tax rate is 15 years from now. So we want to get everything as tax-free as possible. And then having that income plan really just gives you a track to run on, gives you a plan in place that you can adjust, but it gives you something to look at every year and see, am I on track? Am I getting to where I need to be? And that way, you know, your money's going to last as long as you need it to. Those are the areas you need to look at. That's why I developed the core retirement design. I'd love to talk to you about it. See if you are on the right track to the retirement you always dreamed of. It's a simple phone call, 863-877-1188. That's 863-877-1188. Give me a call and let's chat, see what we can do to make sure you're on the track you need to be on.
Philip, you have been in the financial business for well over 20 years. How did you get started?
So my background is in tax and accounting. I own several accounting and tax practices. Actually, I'm partner in tax practice now. And so that was my background, and I loved investments. And so as part of my accounting tax practice, I would offer retirement planning and investments and that kind of stuff. But it was kind of ancillary to my accounting practice. Well, back in about 2001, I decided, you know what, this is more enjoyable. I can see, people aren't mad at me because they owe taxes all the time. I want to do this. And so I got out of my accounting and tax practices and started focusing just on retirement planning, still keeping some tax knowledge and still doing some tax work just because I enjoy it. But that became my main focus in 2001 and doing retirement planning and income planning for folks to make sure that they had the retirement they always dreamed of.
That is very fascinating. And yeah, you don't have people upset with you anymore about the taxes. I love that. 863-877-1188. That number again is 863-877-1188. Please get a hold of Philip Statler at Statler Financial Services. Philip, it was so great to talk to you again this week.
Hey, good to talk to you, Stephanie. You have a great one, and we will talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you next week on the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. This radio show is a paid placement.